What's good, everyone, and this is episode 21 of the MyNBA World Series. You don't want to miss the end of this episode because I will be showing the crazy moves that happen in the NBA, and we are kicking it off by watching two of the top teams in the NBA face off, with the Boston Celtics having the current scoring leader in the entire NBA in Jason Tatum, while the Nuggets are led by the best center in the entire NBA, Nikola Jokic, who is averaging 26, 11, and 9 for a contending Nuggets team. The duo of Murray and Jokic started the season off slow, but after playing some easier opponents, their momentum has got them on a 3-game win streak going into the match versus Boston. For Boston, Tatum was on fire, putting up 37 points versus Denver, and Tatum is the only player in the league to have multiple 50-point games already this year. Due to Jason Tatum's hot start to start the game, it was a back-and-forth battle between Denver and Boston, and Tatum's amazing scoring has led the Celtics to an undefeated record at home. But the Celtics are not at home, and whenever the second option Jaylen Brown started to struggle, the Nuggets seemed to pull away. Although at the same time, sophomore Christian Kelly struggled to get the ball in the basket, the Nuggets still had Nikola Jokic, and when you have such a great playmaker in Jokic, he's bound to find you open to get you in rhythm eventually. And as the game went on, Christian Kelly eventually got some more shots to go down, and more the Nuggets built up that lead. And after tough and ones from the Nuggets stars, the Nuggets ended up winning this highly talented matchup in an impressive 142-118 victory versus the Boston Celtics and Jason Tatum. We now check into the first overall pick, OJ Tremblay, who plays in Houston versus the Detroit Pistons. Many analysts and even fans of Houston think Nasir Cunningham, the 6'8" athletic high schooler, should have went first overall. But Nasir ended up going to Detroit with the second overall pick to pair up with former number 2 pick Victor Wembanyama and number 1 pick Cade Cunningham. In this matchup, OJ Tremblay showed off his elite 3-point shooting ability, leading the Rockets in scoring with 26 points with 6 threes. For the past 3 years, the Pistons have always been an under 500 unit, yet they have some extremely high potential young pieces. Last season, Cade Cunningham did go down with a serious leg injury, so that is part to blame for their bad start. Hopefully this year they can get it going and maybe make the playoffs. And former high school phenom Mikey Williams ended up playing very solid tonight for Detroit, putting up 17 points off the bench, while Nasir Cunningham showed off why the fans love his talent, with a nice 21 point, 7 assist, 6 rebound performance versus a rookie rival. OJ Tremblay looked like he took all the doubt on his high draft selection personally, leading the Rockets team offensively throughout the night, no matter if it was scoring or playmaking. Jabari Smith scored 29 points versus the Pistons as well, and with the Rockets duo playing great, Tremblay gets the bragging rights over Nasir, with Houston taking a 15-point W, 118-103 versus the Pistons and the second overall pick, Nasir Cunningham. And the next match, we have two great offenses in different conferences going against each other. The New York Knicks matchup versus the Phoenix Suns. Going into this matchup, Devin Booker was scoring 35 points pretty much every other night like it was nothing, while Trae Young racked up 13 or more assists 7 times in the first 14 games. The Knicks have been shockingly good to many fans. Last season, the Knicks had a 37-win record, but going into this matchup versus the Suns, New York had a 14-5 record in the first 19 games, which would mean if the Knicks kept up this pace, they would finish the year with 58-61 wins on the entire year. The matchup tonight of Devin Booker and Christian Green Jr. dominated the game. Both of the two scoring guards went back and forth for multiple possessions, just going one-on-one and scoring the ball for their teams. When it was all said and done, Christian Green ended the back and forth by messing up a potential alley-oop opportunity, but the Knicks still had a narrow lead. In the late fourth quarter though, Trae Young makes a catch and shoot 3 with the man in his face, and he gets hyped up after that clutch basket. Then JJ Shuttlesworth, the rookie, drains multiple threes, including an extremely tough moving corner three with the man in his grill. And when all the momentum seemed to be on the Suns' side, a bad turnover causes the Knicks to run the floor, and ended with a CGJ slamming it down. Booker has the ball with just under 10 seconds left, being down 118-116, and he's going to hold for that last shot, and Green is guarding him closely, and from near the Suns logo with a hand in his face, it's no good. Devin Booker will miss the shot in the clutch, and after the shot we see that Shuttlesworth appeared to be subbing into the game, but ended up just watching the final moments on the sideline. And now taking a look at the mix of old and new Knicks players, their improving production has led the team to a 15-5 record. But even with this hot start, the Knicks make a huge move. The Knicks trade their 2019 third overall pick RJ Barrett for the point guard De'Aaron Fox. Fox was upset with the Kings' continuous losing, having a 5-17 record before he was traded out of Sacramento. The Knicks make a big change even with the great record, and we will see if it ends up being the right decision. Next up, we have the previous NBA Finals, the Utah Jazz matchup versus the Charlotte Hornets, in a very hyped up matchup. There has been many talks about this full potential of this Hornets team. Can they really get back to the finals and win the championship? Many doubt. The Hornets went out and got Andrew Wiggins, a player who is very similar to Jazz forward Mikal Bridges. And Bridges was an X factor for Utah to win the chip. And teams will always try to duplicate the strategies that championship winning teams succeed with. Utah Jazz star Jameer Ware led the way in this matchup versus the Hornets, scoring a game-high 39 points. And Ware matched up against the 7'4" sophomore Will O'Neal, who played well last episode. And in this game, Will O'Neal scores 13 points and grabs 14 rebounds with 2 blocks on 10 shots. An alright game for the former second overall pick. For Kadon Ryan, he has been averaging 23 points a game this year, and in this match, Kadon Ryan scores 26 points on 11 of 23 field goal shooting, just under 50%. And DeMar DeRozan has recently been traded to this Jazz team just last episode, and he had a solid performance off the bench for the Jazz, scoring 14 points on just 6 field goal attempts. And Trey Johnson, the rookie out of Texas, has been a solid contributor at the guard position off the bench to the contending Utah team as well. And this game was not very close. What could have been a game of the year candidate turned out to be an easy Jazz win, and the Jazz were up as much as 32 points at one point versus Charlotte, and the Jazz, just like in the finals, end up on top. Next we have the Clippers, and Russell Westbrook just signed to this Clippers team about 2.5 weeks ago on a 1-year deal for about $6 million. And we got the California teams matching up, led by AD and newly signed Paul Thompson on the Lakers. Westbrook may not be the Clippers' best player at the age of 37, but he has the intensity and energy to attack the other team's defense, even though he knows the Clippers are the worst team on the court in 99% of any of their matchups. Westbrook, in around 8 games with the San Diego Clippers, is averaging about 17, 6, and 6 on 48 field goal percent. The Lakers are the clear better team in every possible aspect, but a solid player the Clippers do have is an aging Drew Holiday. The Clippers received Drew Holiday after trading Paul George to the Milwaukee Bucks. This Clippers team surprisingly started the season off decent, mustering up a 6-4 record after 10 games. But ever since, this Clippers team has been on an over 10-game losing streak, getting so bad that they end up being 7-22, going on a 15-game losing streak. For the Lakers, they still have title hopes even with LeBron retiring. But a couple days after this easy win versus one of the worst teams in the league, Anthony Davis suffers a minor sprain in his right ankle. And for Westbrook, who actually played well against his former team, where he infamously was outcasted from the organization, and ended up signing to the Spurs after that. But in the loss, Westbrook actually put up 31, 8, and 8, while Anthony Davis dominated for the Lakers, putting up 34 points and grabbing a staggering 25 rebounds. The Clippers had no center, and AD just cruised to putting up Shaq-like numbers in the matchup. while leading his team to a breezy win versus the Clippers. Now we have an Eastern Conference showdown between two teams with similar records, both being around 500. The Pacers, led by an early season MVP candidate, Tyrese Halliburton, going up against the Atlanta Hawks. Honestly, does anyone really lead the Hawks at this point? I guess maybe you could say Kevin Porter Jr. or Franz Wagner, but that's a stretch. And Kevin Porter Jr. has been a solid scorer, averaging 18.5 points a game, but he kinda has been shot chucking. But he is still yet to incorporate a playmaking role into his skill set at the same time. Halliburton has slowed down from his first 10 games, but he's still been a great facilitator and leading force for this 12-11 Pacers group. The Hawks have had some good play from Andrew Gretsch, the rookie center, getting a career-high 14 rebounds in a win versus the Clippers a few nights ago. As well, Onyeka Okongwu has been a solid 12-9 center for this group. His 6'8" frame allows him to be switchable, and in this era of basketball, that might be the most important defensive skill to have. For the Pacers, Jake Bean and Kristaps seem to have a connection. Bean being able to hit the catch and shoot shot and play make for Kristaps on the pick and pops. These two teams may end up meeting each other in the play-in, both of these groups near that mediocre 500 mark, and the Pacers have been the superior talent though. So many think they can move up in the standings, but I don't know about them Hawks. And we have a signing. The Dallas Mavericks signed the undrafted 6'8" shooting guard Saint Montgomery. He did play well for the Celtics G League team as a scoring guard or forward. He can't really play much defense, but he can get molded into that side of the ball with his tall frame and quickness. He seems to fit well in this Mavericks offense, so I understand why they went out and got him, and it will be interesting to see how much he gets used. But for now, we have another Eastern Conference clash, this time a Southeast Division match. The Toronto Raptors go up against the Orlando Magic. The Magic has recently added Novak to the starting lineup. It is not a guarantee that he stays there though, so he must play well in his new role. But for the Raptors, they've been disappointing, with Miles Bridges recently recovering from a shoulder injury where he missed 6 games, and the subtraction of Pascal Siakam has not helped this team any. But the Magic may have a bright future, with Paolo Banchero leading the way, rookies like big man Martin Novak, and guard Stephon Castleberry. They have been a great young team to start the year. In this matchup, Demetrius Augustine, who was slow to start the year, went on a one-man showcase. With no Bridges or Siakam, he needed to step up to beat the superior division rival, and that's what he did. Augustine was very good last season, and they ended up losing in the play-in to the New York Knicks. And maybe Augustine is trying to right his wrongs, because last year he was not that good in the clutch. But Augustine this game ended with 36 points, winning the matchup versus Castleberry, who dropped 14 points and 6 rebounds. Not only did Augustine win the player matchup, he led the Raptors to a much needed win, hitting the game-sealing pull-up 3 over Isaiah Collier against a division rival. And the Raptors end up winning 130 to 119. Now we do have the Mavericks. They once again make a move. This time they go fully out and get more talent for Luka. After a slow 10-15 start for the year, they trade for 31-year-old Zach LaVine and 36-year-old Nikola Vucevic. This may be the last year of LaVine's prime. He is averaging 26.3 points a game in his final 25 games with the Chicago Bulls this year. The Mavericks end up giving up a 2024 number 22 draft selection, Sean Taylor, who has been playing well for the Mavericks, averaging 15.5 points a game and was the best defensive player for Dallas. But I guess you have to give up talent to receive it, and the Mavs also trade recently signed Saint Montgomery, who never played a second of action for the Dallas Mavericks in the 3-game span he was on the team. Kai James, an undrafted center, signed to the Bulls after Vucevic ended up getting traded. They had no real center on the Bulls lineup, so they ended up getting Kai James, and he will be starting in his NBA debut. This Bulls team now have Saint Montgomery, Sean Taylor, and Kai James on the Chicago Bulls making their rookie debut. which makes the 2 undrafted rookies and sophomore all starting along with Lonzo Ball and Herb Jones. In the new look Bulls debut, they shocked the NBA with a dominating debut performance. The center Kai James puts up 26 points and 12 rebounds. Sean Taylor gets 18 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 steals. And St. Montgomery gets 22 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. And possibly the most shocking game all year, the Bulls ended up destroying the Mavericks. Even Luka Doncic couldn't get the ball in the basket, scoring under 20 points for the first time all year. Sean Taylor and Saint took it personally against their former team, who seemed to think they weren't good enough, and the Bulls were up by 40 plus before the halftime was even finished. Dallas just looked lost tonight against Chicago, getting dominated on both sides of the ball, offense and defense, and even coaching on the sideline. And when the game was over, the Bulls ended up doubling the Mavericks score in an absolute shell shocker. Officially, the new look Bulls are in town, but will they be able to recover from the bad start before they even got there and end up in the playoffs or the play-in? With the final score being put up in the history books, the Mavericks own the title of having the biggest blowout in JDN series history. We now have a heavyweight matchup. The New Orleans Pelicans play the Milwaukee Bucks in Milwaukee. This will be the first time we have seen Paul George in a Bucks uniform, and we also watched the best player in the NBA, Giannis Antetokounmpo. The star-studded matchup of Giannis versus Zion Williamson is what everyone has been talking about. The other star matchup we have is Paul George matching up against Izzy Ball. Because of Paul George's great defense, he was guarding Izzy throughout the entire game, and even with an amazing defender on him, Izzy could play make at the highest level in the league, and that's why he got drafted number 1 overall over Victor Wembanyama. Izzy Ball had many options when in Houston, but the weapons he has on the Pelicans may be the best in the entire league, having such a deep core of DeJounte Murray, McCollum, Ingram, and of course Zion Williamson. For the Bucks, Paul George was on fire tonight. Many times Izzy guarded PG-13, and we have seen Izzy have trouble defensively versus star players. Paul George put up a season-high 39 points while hitting 10 threes in the game, including many difficult shots and clutch shots. This game ended up living to the hype, being a very tight and contested matchup throughout the entire game. The Pelicans had the slight lead in the fourth quarter, but then the duo of Giannis and PG-13 started to catch on fire. After a 1-point lead for the Pelicans, Giannis goes down the floor and ends up hitting a game-tying shot over Zion Williamson. And with the game being tied at 120, Izzy Ball has the ball for the last shot, and Izzy once again will miss a shot in the clutch, and in overtime, newly added Steven Adams makes a nice defensive play for the Bucks. But then Zion comes back and does an incredible dunk, looking like he's in a dunk contest. It looked like he had a 50-inch vertical right there, the back of his head right up to the rim, doing a reverse dunk on the alley-oop. The game is tied at 136, and the Pelicans have the ball with under 4 seconds left. Ingram gets the ball off the inbound. He passes it down low to a cutting Izzy. Can they run out of clock? And Izzy makes a shot over Pritchard, but was it off in time? What a decision by Ingram. He threw it in immediately, and that's the only reason why the shot was even close to counting. And after the review, we will see, and it is obvious, Izzy Ball with his new team will win the game for the Pelicans, and Izzy has been balling this year, especially when he's at the point guard position, almost putting up a triple-double tonight versus Milwaukee, while also putting up a career high in a single game assists with 17 assists tonight. And with Izzy's 17 assist game, he is also tied with Trae Young for the most assists in a game this whole year. An impressive leading performance for the Pelicans to catch this W. For the last game of the episode, the San Antonio Spurs go up against the Oklahoma City Thunder. There has been many trade talks surrounding Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and a lot of turmoil seems to be coming from this Oklahoma City team. San Antonio center John Cooley and the Spurs have been mediocre for the past 3 years he's been there. But the Spurs gave him the bag to keep the talented ball-handling big man. John Cooley is a great pick-and-pop player, and he can handle the ball and dominate in the paint. Just imagine if the Hornets actually drafted him over Will O'Neal. And John Cooley ended up getting paid a $140 million deal extension for 4 years from San Antonio. William Wilson has been solid this year for Oklahoma. The star Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been upset with his minutes. He has been benched in multiple games, suggesting that Shai is ready to lead the Thunder. And in the clutch moments, if it can't get any worse, Shai Gilgeous still ends up with the ball in his hands, but he disappears in the clutch, missing a floater which seemed like a routine shot for him. Many expect Shai to be gone by the trade deadline, and after the Thunder end up fouling, MPJ gets the shot and he misses, and with that, the game is sealed. The Thunder end up losing a tight contest versus the San Antonio Spurs, maybe near the end of the Shai Gilgeous and Thunder era. And taking a look at the standings, the new look Grizzlies, who just got Kyrie Irving after they traded for him in offseason, is the #1 seed in the entire West. The Lakers without LeBron are the 2 seed, new look Pelicans 3 seed, 4 seed Suns, a lot of new teams. A very disappointing team has been that Warrior squad who just got Siakam. In the Eastern Conference, even though the West looked a lot better on paper going on to the year, but the East has really been where the top dogs are at. The Cavaliers has been balling with the #1 record in the entire NBA. The Boston Celtics, a 15-0 home record. Miami, who was very disappointing last year in the playoffs, many thought they were going to win the finals, they're still great. And the New York Knicks, 17-10, a very surprising record. Looking at some scoring leaders, you have Jason Tatum averaging around 30 points a game, and Devin Booker, who is striving with Trae Young added. Wembanyama has been great, even though the Pistons themselves have not been that good. Izzy Ball for the Pelicans, putting up 21, 7, and 7 for this new look Pelican squad while winning games. And we can see John Mirware, who did get recently injured, it's a little injury, but he's averaging 23.5 points a game and 10 rebounds, taking over as the leader for this Jazz team. Kadon averaging 20 points a game. And look at Kai James averaging 16 points a game, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists in just 5 games, to be fair, but a great start for his NBA career. The December Rookies of the Month, OJ Tremblay and Stephon Castleberry for the West and East, both of them playing extremely well and up to their potential to start the year. Both of them not shooting extremely efficiently, but as guards and rookie guards at that, it is somewhat expected. Both of them playing very well to start their career. And we got a little John Morant love, as expected when you're a top dog in the entire NBA, scoring a career high 57 points versus Philadelphia. Not only did he score 57, but he scored it against a great team, and his 57 points is the most points scored by a player this year so far. Discord is in the link in the description if you want to join that, maybe get some updates on videos and kind of know what I'm doing, maybe, potential new series, you'll know what, will be happening. And if you enjoyed the video, subscribe. I would appreciate that a lot if you like the content, and I will see you guys next video. Peace.